So one of the questions that people ask, especially a lot of veterinarians, is where can they learn equine dentistry? There's more and more interest in dentistry, which is fantastic. And so then the question is, well, where did you learn? How do you figure these things out? And there's several ways. Obviously books and the internet are great for getting some of the theoretical concepts. And then but I think it's important to recognize a fundamental, which is equine dentistry is both a science and an art. The art part is the physical part. It's what we do with our hands. And then there's a theoretical part, the knowledge that's in the mind. But because it's not say something like internal medicine where you're basing it a lot on blood works, uh, and lab results, although there's also some art to internal medicine because of diagnostics like ultrasound and all that. But dentistry is very, very, very hands-on. You have to have a lot of manual skills. And so if you think about it that way, it's almost like a sport. So where do you learn basketball? You learn how to play basketball by going to the Marriott and spending a weekend with your friends and going to cocktail parties sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. Well, you can learn some things there. It's just like with dentistry, you can talk with colleagues about their experiences, their background, their mistakes, the things they've done. So I'm not against conferences. I think they're fantastic for networking and for gaining some of the theoretical, the knowledge, the part that's in the brain. But they do zero for the part we do with our hands, which is essentially we can't do dentistry unless we're using our hands. So that brings us to wet labs. You have to have some component of your education that's hands-on. And cadavers are great for certain things, but they're not the same. You really, really, really need to be working on live horses to grow your skills, to grow your confidence, to grow your knowledge, to integrate your knowledge with what you're trying to do on the animal. So it's really important that whatever education you pursue, that you're doing it on live horses. I'm a big fan of the Academy of Equine Dentistry in Idaho. We have a lot of veterinarians that come there from all over the world, and it's a unique program because it's not just myself there. There's a lot of people and a lot of veterinarians, a lot of experience and expertise, decades and decades and thousands of horses, and we all get together and we work on hundreds of horses during each class. That means that it's actually hands-on. We do theoretical work, but then we also integrate that with hands-on, and that's super, super, super important. But it's logistically, it can be very hard and that's why a lot of conferences don't have that component, because trying to schedule horses and the aftercare and all of these things, it's logistically very complicated. But for me, I feel like to get a good dental education, it's essential that you have that ability to practice with colleagues under supervision, just like a sport. If I want to get better at basketball, I'm gonna play with colleagues and with the mentorship of coaches, and that kind of cross-referencing the checks and balances will do many things for you. Working in isolation can lead to a really big ego and really bad habits, and ultimately can kind of put a cap on your growth. But if you work closely with others, where you evaluate each other's work and you evaluate our judgment and our skills, you're going to get constructive criticism. That's going to make you grow. It's going to make you better. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at times, but it will make you a lot better. And so I encourage people to do that, because I see a lot of veterinarians that go to conferences, and for better or for worse, I'm not picking on people, but in a conference, everything looks ideal. If I get up and I present a case, I show you boom, boom, boom. Sometimes we talk about the problems, but most times we talk about what makes us look good. That's normal, and we want others to succeed, so we're showing them things that look good. But really, there's a lot of much harder steps and processes in there that you can't learn unless you're in the battlefield of actually working on live horses. So be really careful of experts that never truly walk into the battlefield and show what they do. To me, if you're teaching other veterinarians how to do dentistry, you should be willing to go out and work on horses in front of the whole world so that your work can be evaluated. Otherwise, you're kind of hiding behind your credentials hiding behind a status and that you may have obtained, but you're not truly showing what you're doing. So really look for mentors and people that are not afraid to show their work, showcase their work. They're more vulnerable and they're going to be more human. They're going to be better teachers. People that seem like they're really high up and they're not showing a lot of their work are probably not going to be as open-minded. So other place, so the Academy of Equine Dentistry is really great for that. There's a lot of focus on anatomy, occlusal equilibration, minimally invasive extraction techniques, endodontics, restorations, imaging. So we focus on all of that. And then in Europe, there's the Equine Dental Clinic. They have a lot of experience, do a lot of amazing work. And that's also important is going with people that have a lot of experience, because you can gain, it can save you so much headache, and it can really help your career working with people that have just seen a lot of numbers. So it's dangerous. We all know small sample sizes are dangerous, and because if I only have one EOTRH case, for example, a month, so I work on 12 a year, and I go to teach you about it, that 12 cases that I've seen are going to reflect all my biases, and my biases could be really big. If I've seen only really hypercementotic cases, I'm going to have a bias towards that component. But if I've worked on 3,000 EOTRH cases, my biases are going to be, my sample size is going to be much more representative. I'm going to be able to give you a lot better information, right? So looking for mentors and instructors, colleagues that have a lot of experience is super, super important. I know Manfred Stoll in Germany teaches a lot of endodontics cases, restorations also. So there's a lot of people out there like this, these private clinics that are very open-minded. They bring a lot of people in, and even if you're in Brazil, Dr. Bitar always does a lot of educational classes. So that working with people like that, I think, can really expand your knowledge. And even if you're not taking a class, what you'll find is if you contact a lot of these veterinarians that have a lot of experience, most of them are very open. So if you call them up, I know here, if you want to come here and spend a few days or a week with us and see what we do, we're more than happy to do that. And I know a lot of other veterinarians around the world are that same way. So go out and seek out individual people and try to have. The other thing that I think has limited veterinarians' ability to really enjoy some of the fruits of equine dentistry is echo chambers. Echo chambers are a poison and a toxin that can take over certain groups, where you basically have these biases and you keep reinforcing them amongst each other. So I think it's really important to seek groups, organizations, individuals that have an open mind and that have worked with a lot of different people, have looked at a lot of different techniques, basically that are open instead of being closed. Closed circuit systems are typically, there's a lot of weaknesses within that, and you'll often find these types of people to be really guarded and to be really kind of protective of their position, because instead of basing it on open ideas, open concepts, open source, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, they're kind of closed and they're just not as happy. So that would be the last piece of advice. So that's kind of an overview of some of the thought processes that can go into trying to further your equine dental education. So if you like these videos, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That helps us get the word out on equine dentistry.